What is going on, you guys? My name is Matt, and by the time you are watching this video, I will be up in northern Minnesota, absolutely enjoying my hammock, swimming in lakes, enjoying fires, and just overall relaxing. And in order to do that, I filmed this video on Tuesday. Usually I film on Friday, and I barely get it out on Friday. So here I am planning ahead for you guys because I appreciate all the support I've been getting. The number one card we have this week has the highest error value increase we have ever seen on this channel. So let's get right into this week's video. Also, I am raw dogging it this week, meaning I do not have a list of notes on each Pokemon card. Usually I'm a little bit more organized, but because I have to get this one out quickly, I will be going off the top of my dome. So if I sound more stupid than I usually do, we'll blame it on that. Kicking things off, we have a first edition Haunter from Fossil set with the Cigar Stain error. And this one is just like the Cigar Stain Hitmonlee, where it is a repeating error, but the severity kind of varies a little bit. So least severe, you have something a little bit more like you're seeing here on the right of the screen, and more severe, very thick gold stripe that is on more of the card. Each sheet that this got printed on, it got less and less and less. So technically this is a repeating error, but you will see that the severity is definitely varied quite a bit. Yes, very interesting card, and this one sold for $146. Next up, we have a first edition Vulpix with that blue butt. So you see there is a blue ink dot, I would say, on Vulpix's butt, and if you look at the description here, actually the first edition version of this is actually more rare than the standard edition. So this is a repeating error. I really don't know what the heck happened to get a blue dot on there, but this is definitely one of the more iconic repeating errors that you will see. And in a PSA 9, this card sold for $300 this week. Next up, we have a Ninetales, which is shadowless, and this one is called the No Damage Ninetales. Look at the card in the middle, you see 80 next to Fire Blast, but that is not on the card on the right. And so this is another repeating error. We're 3 for 3 here to start the video, and this one always sells for a lot of money. You can see raw, this card sold for $380.99. Also, this card can go upwards of like $800, $1,000, $1,500 from what we've seen for raw cards before, and this card is actually in pretty good shape. It doesn't look like it. It looks a little bit bent, but that can be undone, and the back of the card is actually pretty clean, so I'd say this buyer actually got a pretty good deal. Next up, we have a base set Venusaur with the insufficient ink error. Now this one actually, on the site that I use to track repeating errors, this one's actually on there. So Venusaur is known to have these missing yellow ink dots that are kind of, or blue ovals that are all scattered around the card. So while this really isn't repeating in the same exact spot, it's known that this base set Venusaur has this. So we're going to call this 4 for 4 for repeating errors. And you can see this one sold for $130. Ooh, next one, we got a crazy miscut. We have a Gloom from Topps, and this one is just very, very severely miscut. I always say this, that I love the Topps miscuts because of the contrast between the cards, and you can see that we have about 2/3 of Gloom on top and 1/3 of Vileplume underneath. And average non-error price for this card, regularly cut, $1.97. This one sold for $90, and that gives the error value increase 4,469%, and that is good enough for number 3 this week on their list of error value increases. Believe it or not, usually I am organized enough to actually coordinate the list. I never like to have them just be, in a specific order, so I was just trying to sprinkle them out throughout the video, but this one, I am reporting on them as I saw them, and so you're seeing, I guess I don't know what order these are going to come in, so I'll be surprised just like you are. Next up, we have a Dark Persian promo card with the no HP error. So clearly there is no HP next to Dark Persian there. It should say 60 HP in red. That is missing. Shout out to Inferno Games. I think you watch these videos. If you do, how you doing? I'm a big fan of all the cards that you're selling. You do a great job and keep up the good work. If not, just ignore that at all. And this one, the EVI would usually be a lot higher, but this is a vintage holo, and so typically those sell for more, even if it's a promo card. This one typically sells for $26 for non-error version, and this one went for just under $200 this week. Next up, we have a Chansey from Scarlet and Violet 151 with a miscut. Now this one's pretty severe, shifted to the right, and I don't know what card that is to the left of it, but clearly there is a good portion of another card on there, and that is definitely reflected in the price. This card sold for $50 this week and had an error value increase of 3,776%, which is good enough for number 4 this week on our list of EVI. Next up, we have a base set Blastoise with the Illustrator error. So bottom left corner of the card, ILLUS is smudged or missing from the word Illustrator. And there's 3 main base set Blastoise errors that usually are occurring for repeating errors. That is the stage error, the red dot error, and the Illustrator error. And I can't say for sure which one is rare, but I definitely see the Illustrator error show up less, or like the least of all 3. And as I'm filming this, I see that I did have an error, funny enough. Average non-error price, $66, that is not right. Grade 7 typically goes for $88, and grade 8 goes for $185. So I don't know, split the difference, maybe let's say 120 for an average 7.5. So EVI would be even lower than this, but this doesn't affect the top 10, so I guess not that big of a deal. But yes, this card sold for $180 this week. Next up, we have a Vileplume from Pokemon 151 Scarlet and Violet, and this has the same exact type of miscut as the Chansey. And wouldn't you know it, it's from the same seller too. So this seller made just about $100 selling 2 modern cards that would usually be worth under $3 total. So this one sold for $48. Again, like I said, this one is shifted just the same as the other one, the way it's miscut. And the error value increase is 3,771%. And that is good for number 5 this week. Next up, we have a Grass Energy card from 2022. And this is called a narrow miscut. So basically 2 round corners on the left and 2 square corners on the right. So it was shifted far enough to the left where it actually made the card significantly thinner than it should have been. And if you've been watching the show for a little while, these Grass Energy cards seem to be the most miscut out of any of these. And sometimes these sell for a lot of money. You'll see another example of a card selling for way more than it should later in this video. But yeah, I think this might be this one actually probably they got a deal on this, I would say. I can't say for sure what the exact price would be, but my gut feeling says it should be higher than this, but some of the sales in the past have been way too high. So either way, this card sold for $20 this week. Next up, we have 2 modern Pokemon cards with an obstruction error, a water obstruction. We have an Executor and one that I don't know, and I'm not going to mispronounce. So we'll just say we have 2 cards here that are modern that have this error. Clearly, I think these 2 cards were next to each other on the uncut sheet, and something got spilled or there was an obstruction in part of the printing process. I think this is an error. Sometimes I will report on this and then find out later that someone just spilled like grape juice on the Pokemon cards and it soaked through. I don't think that's the case for this, but we'll see. Either way, very interesting, especially how they are together their whole lives. I always love that. And these 2 cards sold for $41. Next up, we have a Japanese Grimer from Team Rocket set. And this is a banned card. So funny enough, this is a banned card. The only reason is because of 2 black dots. You can see Grimer's attention is looking up at that young lass there, and definitely some people thought that was inappropriate. And I couldn't find a corrected version. I think the first edition version of this is corrected, but that didn't seem right to compare those 2. I don't know. So we're just going to get a good laugh at this, at Grimer being a creep. and this card sold for $25. Next up, we have a Rainbow Foil Ivysaur from Topps, and this is a miscut. Again, you can see the clear contrast with these cards here, especially this one. I was trying to see which card that was. I was trying to find a uncut sheet of these Rainbow Foil cards, and could not find it, could not figure out who that was. If you know what Pokemon that is, please let me know. Yeah, this card is very unique. Again, I think any of these Topps miscuts are just about one of a kind. They're very, very awesome, and I always love these showing up. And you can see this card sold for $64. Next up, we have a Haunter from Fossil Set, and this is the Blue Stain Error. So just like that first card that I showed at the start of the video, the first edition Haunter with the cigar stain, this one ranges in severity too. I think this would be known as more of a severe stain because of the blue going outside of the hollow box. That's kind of the indicator that, hey, this is more severe. Least severe, there could be a couple little blue dots. You might not even know they're there if you don't have that trained eye. And yeah, again, like I said, this is a repeating error, and it sold for $150. Next up, we have Execute Reverse Hollow from Legendary Collections, and this is a Hollow Shift. Yeah, this is a Hollow Shift. And this is only apparent because of the 3 energies on the left middle of the card. And believe it or not, this is a repeating error. I think I reported on this not too long ago, and the card sold for like 50-60 bucks, and I thought, boy, that's kind of cheap. And I guess I was right, because this one sold for 130. Maybe I affected the market in some way. The 100 viewers that I got shifted the whole market, probably. Yeah, that's what happened. So yeah, this one sold for $130 this week. Thoughts and prayers, guys. Oh my gosh. This card is not an error. Or at least if it is the most common error that has ever been had. Ever. So this is a Japanese Pikachu from 151. And the error is that the Pokeballs are going throughout the whole card, even the art box. But when I looked on price charting even, their example of the card has this exact same error. So this really is not an error. And at first, when this set first got released, you know, cards were selling for $15, $20, and it's like, oh, you know, it's cool, it's unique, and then people kind of found out, oh, all of the cards have this, but someone still way overpaid. Someone paid $45.14 for this card. The average price is $1.29, and so due to this card is in our top 10 this week. This one is number 6. I don't feel good about it, but number 6 with 3,399%. That was the error value increase. Error. Oh, thoughts and prayers. Next up, we have a Shroomish and Piplup with a additional ink error. I spelt error wrong, funny enough. Matt, you freaking idiot. You can see there is a green line going down Shroomish and a blue line going down Piplup. Between the two, Piplup is definitely harder to see. It's very still apparent that that blue line is there, but man, that Shroomish one really sticks out. And these two cards sold for $50 this week, and they make up number 10 on an error value increase list with 2,400%. Hey, look, another Dark Persian. If I was more organized and had more time, I would have put this with the other one, but I didn't. You know the error, and this one sold for $180 this week. Ooh! Base set War Turtle with the Evolution Box error. So you see under stage 1 there in the top left, that should be Squirtle, but that is War Turtle once again. He makes a second appearance, and obviously a repeating error. And what's interesting is this card will usually show up in the top 10. If it's not graded, it's close to the top, you know, usually within the top 4 cards for the error value increase. But if it's graded, it's usually towards the bottom of the list and sometimes not even on the list. But this one is a raw card, sold for $150, and the error value increase is 10,688%. Which is good enough for number 2 this week on our list of error value increases. Next up, we have a CGC Gem Mint 10 Charizard from Pokemon Celebrations. That was released in 2021, and this is an incomplete texture error. And Lord, I don't have the time to look this up. If you know, please let me know. I didn't have time to even see what this is. You know how I am with modern errors. But if CGC says that's the error, I believe them. And it sold for $500 this week. Error value increase of 244%, which is very solid, I would say. Again, that added $350 of value to this card. So that's pretty incredible. Next up, we have a Litleo from Evolving Skies, and this is a severe miscut. So I see 2 alignment dots on the front here, and honestly didn't check the back. I'd assume there's 2 as well. That's usually kind of how it goes. If you see it on the front, you see it on the back. And yeah, this is definitely a severe miscut. Usually sells for 88 cents. This one sold for $28 in auction. And is number 7 this week on our list of error value increases, 3,082%. Next up, we have a Gengar Spirit Link from Phantom Forces, and this is a severe miscut. You can see there is the start of another trainer card on the bottom there. And I've said this before, but when cards like this get shifted up, I love that. So what was cut off on the top, that is the top of the border and trainer and item, that gets replaced on the bottom. I just freaking love that. That's like the game Portal, where you stick your hand through one end, and however far you stick your hand out is the part that is showing on the other end. Just absolutely love it. And this card sold for $90 this week, a CGC 7. Here is one of the only modern repeating errors that I personally know. Again, I'm an out-of-touch old man who doesn't know too much about modern cards. I like 151, so I pay attention a little bit more to that. But this War Turtle with this large ink smear, I am familiar with. If you don't know what I'm talking about, get your eyes checked, and then also check next to the HP 100, or actually this is covering up HP. And I actually saw this card, this exact repeating error, selling in an auction from someone in the UK. And there's like 3 minutes left. No one had bid on it. The minimum bid is like 99 cents. But to get it to the US, shipping is like $20. And I was not aware if I could contact the seller and actually see if they could ship it for cheaper or something. So I didn't end up bidding on it. But I could have gotten this exact card for a lot cheaper if I known how. But maybe that just wasn't meant to be. Either way, this card sold for $30 this week. Average non-error price is 99 cents, so the error value increase is 2,929%, which is good enough for number 8. Next up, we have a Gyarados from Pokemon Evolutions 2016, and this is a absolutely shiny, crazy Hollow Blade. So Hollow Blades are due to an insufficient ink error. I think whatever that ink is kind of blocks out the hollow from going through the rest of the card. And man, I always love seeing these Evolutions Hollow Bleeds. It's just an incredible error. Very shiny. I would love to see it move around, you know, with the light shining on it. And this card typically goes for $11.50 for a grade 8. This one sold for $300. I would consider Evolutions to be just on the cusp of kind of modern cards versus vintage. This is kind of, at this point, tiptoeing that line a little bit. Yeah, to see it sell for $300 is pretty crazy. And this card is number 9 this week on our list of error value increases, 2,509%. Okay, here it is. A Machoke from Pokemon Evolutions with a blank back. I don't show it here, just believe me, it's just a white back. Sold for $2,000. Now, people can argue that this card, or the buyer of this card, way overpaid. But when it's something like a one of one, it's really kind of hard to say and determine a price for something like this. There could be other cards. I know there was a card last week that was a double hollow that sold for $600, but it's just really hard to say. This card is miscut. It looks like there is a left. The left border is yellow, and then 3 of the thicker borders is blue. There's just a lot going on with this card, and that's just incredible. This card had an error value increase of 199,000 900%. That is just the highest value increase I've ever seen for the show. That's incredible. Not much more to say about it. I don't know. That's a incredible card. Let me know your thoughts on this. And I look forward to the next card that beats this air value increase, because it's going to have to step up its game and just be an absolutely insane card just like this. Well, that is the end of the video. I hope this was as mildly entertaining as my other videos have been. Thank you so much for watching. I'm going to be enjoying my time up in northern Minnesota. Thank you for watching, and I will see you next week. Bye.